Welcome in to the Mile High Hoops podcast. I'm Jake Shapiro, coming to you from after the All-Star break. Hope everyone is well rested. Most of the guys in the NBA are still in Cancun or Bermuda or Cabo or wherever they go to have a little bit of fun because the NBA doesn't really kick back off again until tomorrow, with the Nuggets not playing again until Thursday. So Nikola Jokic, enjoy your little vacation. We know you did not enjoy this weekend. Although he seemed to have fun. He seemed to have fun around the guys. In the game and in the event, maybe not so much, but around the guys, it looked like Jokic was having fun. So that was good to see. Today, I want to talk about the 5 things I think are going to happen in the second half of the Nuggets season. I didn't say bold predictions. So don't be like, oh, Jake, anyone could have predicted this. These are just 5 things I think are going to happen in the second half of the Nuggets season. They've only got, 20 plus games left to play. Most people don't even probably realize that. Same record as they were last year at the All-Star break, 36-19. They're cooking on an 8-game win streak, hoping to make it 9 against Charlotte on Thursday, and then LA here on Saturday to make it 10 on ABC would be quite the story. 8 games is already one of the longest win streaks in the NBA this season. Keep in mind, Nuggets went 21-6 after the All-Star break last year. Bit of a mirage, right? Because they tried a little too hard and it cost them in maybe being a little tired against both Los Angeles and Minnesota. And I think that's a lesson that the Nuggets are going to have learned, right? Like, keep that in mind as we think about the second half of the Nuggets season. The year the Nuggets won the championship 2 years ago, I think they went 13-12 after the All-Star break. It was something really similar to that. So keep in mind, the Nuggets may not be going full bore the entire time after the All-Star break, and some things we learn after the All-Star break, well, you can put it into the bucket sometimes of what Dallas did last year, where they restructured their team around the deadline acquisitions and they looked like a different team and it was believable. They made the finals. Or 2 years ago, when the Lakers restructured their team at the deadline, they got a fair bit of luck in their matchups, and then we saw what it looked like when they ran up against a good Denver Nuggets team. So sometimes what happens in the second half of the season can be a mirage, just like, we saw in the last couple of weeks, the Portland Trailblazers get hot. Sometimes it can be really meaningful. So what we're going to learn from the Denver Nuggets is probably going to happen in spurts, right? Can they finish this win streak off? That seems like a goal. Can they take it to Oklahoma City twice in 2 nights in March when they meet up? Can they continue to just budge up against the Lakers, right? There's a couple things and a couple check marks, and the Nuggets got a tougher schedule that we can look at, and we'll talk about them as we go through the second half of the season. But this is just overall thoughts to keep in mind as I give you these predictions. So on that, if you look at the NBA standings right now, nobody's catching the Thunder. Not a chance. They're 44-10. The Grizzlies are 36-18. And the Nuggets are 36-19. That places them a half game back of Memphis for second in the West. Again, Grizzlies are 8 games back, so the Nuggets are 8.5 back with, I'm trying to do the math in my head, but it's like 27 to play or something like that. It's just not happening. The Thunder have basically clinched first in the West. But Houston has been horrible lately. Part of this is because Fred VanVleet has been out. They're 3-7, and they look like the AAU team that they looked like before Fred VanVleet got there. My turn, your turn. Just not fun basketball to watch, which is disappointing because they were one of my favorite teams to watch this year. The Lakers are also hot, winners of 8 of the last 10, and they just picked up Luka. They're 1-1 with Luka. But these are the teams to look at behind the Nuggets. The Rockets, 10.5 back of the Thunder, so 2 games back of the Nuggets at 34-21. The Lakers a half game back of them at 32-20, so 2.5 back of the Nuggets. You've also got the Clippers at 13 back, so again, like you're talking about the 5-game territory, 31-23, and then you start getting into the Wolves, Mavs, and Kings who are 14, 15, 16.5 back. So if you're telling me who's really in play for that second seed, right now, it's obviously Memphis who holds it right now, Denver, Houston, and the Lakers. I think those are the only possibilities. And even the Lakers one, are they really going to outplay all of Houston, Denver, and Memphis by 3 games the entire rest of the way? I don't think so. So the Nuggets have a really good chance here to get the second seed, and that's my prediction. I think the Nuggets are going to end up in the second seed. I think they are the second best team in the West. I think their schedule and the way the West is aligned sets the Nuggets up well to get that second seed in the West. And the second seed is going to be so important this year because it delays your matchup with Oklahoma City till round 3, the conference finals. If you're in that 3 or 4, if you're in the 3 spot, right, you're running into them. Well, the 3-2 is really important because you run into them in the conference finals no matter what. But if you're in that 4-5 spot, you're running into Oklahoma City in the second round. And I think you want to delay. That's the goal of everyone. I think they want to delay as long as you can until you run into Oklahoma City. They are that much of a beast. They are that much of a matchup problem. I will say Dallas has handled them the last few years, and right now they're in the 8th spot. Part of that is Luka, but the big matchup is the bigger part of that, honestly. I also like the way the Timberwolves match up with them. So there's potentially some unfavorable matchups for the Oklahoma City Thunder in the first round. And then looking at the second round, just how this would go, if the Nuggets got the 2 seed or the 3 seed where they're matched up right now, you're talking about the Lakers or potentially the Clippers in the second round. 2 veteran teams. If Kawhi's healthy, former finals MVP, LeBron, don't need to go through his bona fides. Unbelievable, right? Unbelievable players. And these guys really struggle. These younger players really struggle against veteran players in the playoffs. So if the Nuggets can get that 2 seed, get home court for the first 2 rounds, and delay the matchup with Oklahoma City to the 3rd round, maybe they're still alive, but maybe one of these veteran teams has solved something that the Nuggets can take in the tape. Maybe one of their players has an ankle injury that's going to cost them the first 2 games because they got banged up. And it's hard for them to win the first 2 games in Oklahoma City, and all of a sudden the Nuggets steal home court. Obviously we're not rooting for injuries, but I'm just telling you, the playoffs is a long, hard second season. And if you can make the playoffs just ever so slightly easier, it's so important. And I've never gotten the people that say, well, you're going to run into them anyway, no matter what. I don't believe it. I don't think the Nuggets run into Minnesota last year if their bracket was a little bit different, right? And maybe they just get to the NBA Finals. So the Nuggets have a chance here to control their bracket, basically. They're not going to get home seed throughout, but they can find a way to avoid Oklahoma City. So getting to that 2-3 line, staying where they're at 3, or getting 2 and having home court advantage for the first 2 rounds is going to be so huge. I don't have a lot of faith in Memphis right now. If you look at their starting wings, who's going to start there between Jalen Wells and Vince Williams coming back. Like, they're starting 2 rookies quite a bit here. Zach Edey's getting quite a lot of playing time. It's just too young of a team, in my opinion, to make a real deep playoff run, even though they've got Jaren Jackson Jr., who is playing legitimately out of his mind. And I've never been a big JJJ guy. He's been awesome. I also really like the way John Morant plays when he's at his best, but he's struggled to put 3 or 4 games together this season. Don't know if that's something that he's trying to save himself for the playoffs or what. So the Denver Nuggets end up with the 2 seed, and it's going to be really big for them because we are focused on the finals here in Denver, not on the rest of the regular season. So that's the biggest prediction I can tell you. In that, well, Oklahoma City is going to get the 1 like they did last year, though the Nuggets had the same record. And because of that, I think Jokic is going to lose the MVP to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. You look at the straw poll results, I'm actually surprised it's as close as it was. Jokic was still getting maybe a quarter of the first place votes. Still definitely in the race. There's no doubt about that. It's a 2-horse race between Jokic and SGA at this point. But I think it's going to be hard for Jokic to catch SGA. And this is with the assumption of the Thunder only need to really play 500 down the stretch, and SGA can rest quite a bit, right? Like, we don't need to see SGA be playing all the time. He's kind of proved it for the Thunder. And, he's played 53 of their 54 games this year, I think. So he's not missing time at all. He might finally get some rest in the second half of the season. Meanwhile, I think the Nuggets are going to work themselves comfortably into the second seed So where the last couple weeks of the season, they can kind of pick their spots. They've got a game against Houston. They've got a game against Memphis. So may they not use Jokic against if they run into the Portland Trailblazers again. I don't even think they play the Trailblazers again, but you get the point. So I think some of those easy statistical games for Jokic, as well as how many games he plays, is going to affect his MVP case. I also think that the Nuggets being 6 to 7 games worse than the Thunder, wherever it ends up being, is obviously going to affect the MVP case. Though if the Thunder end up with like 18 losses, 19 losses, that's no longer like an ultimate huge 1 seed year, right? Like that is more of a regular run-of-the-mill 1 seed. And if the Nuggets end up with, 25, 30 losses somewhere in there, it's not that much of a difference at that point. Though last year people were making the argument that the Thunder were the 1 seed, so Shea should win the MVP, when again, they had the same record and they just won the tiebreakers. So I don't know. The MVP voting is completely illogical. There's no momentum behind Jokic. No one really wants him to win this award. It's literally taking a Herculean effort for him to even be in the race. And I came into this season thinking Luka Doncic was going to win the award. Obviously, that's not happening this year. I didn't see a way in which Jokic would be in this race again, and somehow he's here because he's gotten even better. And this is obviously the best statistical year of his career. I don't think that realistically he has a chance at winning this, even though he's one of 2 options. It's going to take something from Shea to happen. And, things have happened. Joel Embiid got hurt this time of year a couple years ago when they were, back and forth. It was Shea or it was Joel or Jokic. But as of today, assuming full health, and obviously we want full health for both these guys, I don't think Jokic is going to come away with the MVP, which is funny because that leads to the third prediction. I do think Jokic is going to average a triple-double. I think he's going to be the first center to average triple-double, the first guy to average a triple-double while shooting over 50% from the field. He'll get the points and the rebounds. Like, that's a given. Like, we don't even have to worry about that. It's the assist number. I think Jokic's scoring average is going to come down, which, again, is going to hurt his MVP case, because he's going to be throwing a lot of assists. And this blends my second, third, and now fourth prediction altogether. I think MPJ or Jamal Murray are going to end up with a career scoring average, best points per game mark of their career this year. Right now, Jamal is at 21 a game, obviously been playing better lately. His career mark for a season is 21.2. MPJ is at 19 a game for the full season. Obviously, again, been playing better lately. The last 3 games have been 30-pointers. His career best is already 19. So these guys are like a tick off their career best. And if you looked at the start of the season, both those guys were a little bit lower than where you expected them to be. That's where Jokic was doing a lot of the scoring early on. He had some of those big, giant games, including that 56-point night against Washington. I think that Jokic's points per game are going to continue to come down. This is the most points per game he's ever averaged in his career at 29.8. I'd be stunned if he averages 30 points per game for the entire year. I'd be more stunned if he did that than he won MVP or if the Nuggets won the title, to be honest. I think we're going to honestly see that number come down all the way to maybe even 28. Like, it's going to come down quite a bit, which is saying a lot, because you're assuming that he only has like 17 games left in the season or something like that. He's at 49 right now, so to reach 65, yeah, that checks out. And he played 69 the Nuggets title year, so so he's probably got 18-20 games left most. And I think that number is going to come down a bit because it's going to be more oriented around Jamal and Mike. The Nuggets are at their best when Jamal and Mike are playing up to that level. And lately, they've been playing so much better. It's what makes the Nuggets a championship team, and that's what Jokic is interested in. Again, this all goes into the second half of the season, how the Nuggets approach it, how they take rest, what their goals are. And for me, I think it's going to be continuing to just feed Mike the ball, because it makes the Nuggets a different team. It's what won them the series against the Lakers last year. It's arguably what lost them the series against Minnesota. If Mike is playing at this level, the Nuggets are a different team. If Jamal is playing at this level, the Nuggets are a different team. And Nikola knows that, and Nikola is going to feed those guys, which is going to raise his assist numbers. And in addition to what Russell Westbrook has brought to the team, which obviously has been hurt a little bit lately, it's going to continue to get Jokic that triple-double mark. And honestly, I think Westbrook wants Jokic to get it. It's kind of his gift for giving his joy back, so to speak. So Jokic averages a triple-double, doesn't win MVP, MPJ and or Jamal. I'm not sure if both guys are going to do this. I kind of want to say both guys get there. I almost want to say MPJ averages 20 points per game this year. Like, I'm so close to that. It's possible, right? If he scores 23 a game for the next 20 games, that's got to be 20. I don't know how to do the math on that. It seems within the realm of possibility. MPJ scores 20 a game. Jamal scores 21.5 a game. And Jokic averages a triple-double. By the way, it just goes to show you how good the Oklahoma City Thunder are this year, that they're so much ahead of the Nuggets in the standings. And the Nuggets are getting this pretty much, B plus A minus trajectories from most of their players, if not A plus. Which goes to the next point. Speaking of A plus grades on the season, it's been Christian Braun. Christian Braun's been fantastic. He had that 2-month sour stretch in December, or 2-week sour stretch in December. Besides that, CB has been awesome for the Nuggets. They're not going to take him out of the starting lineup. You cannot take him out of the starting lineup again. Lasted 2 games. I think the karma even told you that was a bad idea because Russ got hurt immediately. And so did AG, right? So this is the prediction. If all 5 Nuggets guys that started the season are healthy, AG, Mike, CB, Jamal, Nikola, Russ doesn't start another game again for the Nuggets. He's not starting over any of those 5 guys. It's time for the Nuggets to figure out their bench. Malone's got to stop looking for answers. He's got to find a solution on his bench. That is one of the giant goals of the second half of the season. And to have Russ anchoring that bench to be the mainstay on that second unit, I think will help answer some of those questions. I think Russ can still play a lot with the starters, particularly not in crunch time. That's where he's been at his best, in the middle of games with the starters. You can still play Westbrook with Jokic quite a bit. But Westbrook needs to figure out some chemistry with whoever's going to play between Zeke Naji and DeAndre Jordan. He's got to figure some stuff out with Julian Strother, who looks like a completely different animal as of late. And obviously his little brother, Peyton Watson. So that's one of the big goals for the second half of the season. And I think it'd be wise for the Denver Nuggets to move Russ back to the bench full time. I do think a large part of them going on this winning streak is due to the fact that Russ is back on the bench and they've reoriented what makes them great, which is the 2-man game of Nikola and Jamal, not Russ and Nikola. So those are my 5 big predictions for the second half of the Nuggets season. If you've got a great prediction, I'd love to hear it. So drop us a comment on YouTube or hit up my social medias. You know where to find me. And stay tuned, because on Thursday, we'll talk more about what we expect from the second half of the season with the Denver Nuggets before they play Charlotte. I'm Jake Shapiro. This is the Mile High Hoops podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.